One of these two cars is the brand new 2025 Mazda CX-70 PHEV, while the other one is the 2024 Mazda CX-90 PHEV. Can you tell which one is which? They both look remarkably similar. But this is the CX-70 PHEV, and is it just a two-row version of the CX-90, or is there more to this car? Let's go for a drive and find out. So this review is all about the Mazda CX-70 PHEV and not the CX-90 PHEV. I only have the CX-90 in this review for a few references, but otherwise it's going to focus on this CX-70. If you are interested in the CX-90, I previously did a review of it last year, which you can check out up there if you're interested. The CX-90 PHEV is exactly the same as it was when I last drove it. The only minor update that it received is a transmission tuning to make the shifts smoother, which is what this CX-70 also received. But beyond that, it's exactly the same. Now, onto this Mazda CX-70 PHEV. It has the exact same powertrain as the CX-90. At the heart of it is a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, and combined with the electric motor, which produces 173 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty powerful, the combined system output is 323 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. You can, of course, also get the 3.3 liter turbocharged inline-6 engine with this Mazda CX-70. But getting back to this PHEV, it's a quick car with the type of numbers that this powertrain produces. The feeling of getting pushed into the back of the seat is not that strong, but the speed builds up very, very quickly. So if you're not careful, you could see some red and blue flashing lights behind you. And it's quite impressive how quickly this car builds up speed because it weighs a lot. In fact, between this Mazda CX-70 and the CX-90 PHEV, there's only a 21 kilogram difference. That's it, 46 pounds. But when you're not using all the power and just driving around on electricity like how I am right now, like I said, the electric motor is pretty powerful and it has no issues in getting this big and heavy SUV going off the line or accelerating up to highway speeds. It's supplied by a 17.8 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it allows this Mazda CX-70 PHEV to drive only on electricity for a claimed 42 kilometers. However, I've driven this car twice now on purely electricity just to see what kind of range I'm able to get, and both times I was able to get 47 kilometers of all-electric range. Once the battery is depleted, this car drives just like any other PHEV, and that it becomes a self-charging hybrid. So the engine's going to turn on to get you up to speed, and once you are up to speed, it'll shut off if there's enough electricity stored up, and you'll just drive a little bit on electricity, and then the engine will turn back on, and vice versa. Recharging the battery can be done through a level 2 charger, which will take approximately 2.5 hours from 0% to 100%. From a home outlet, it'll take around 11 hours. The battery can also be recharged by the engine, though this type of charging will consume a bit more fuel. Under the MI drive mode selector, you'll find a button that will enable the engine to recharge the battery and provide motion for the car. You'll be prompted on the infotainment screen if you'd like to change the maximum battery charge state and to what percentage. This will range from 20% to 100% in 10% intervals. This is also the only way to maintain a battery charge for later use. How this works is that if the charge target you selected is below the current state of battery charge, the car will continue to run in EV mode until the battery is depleted to your set parameter. After which, the engine will turn on and the car will drive like a self-charging hybrid vehicle. But if the current battery charge is below the set maximum target that you set, the engine will turn on and continue to provide a bit of energy to the battery and also move the CX-70. But again, this will use more fuel, so it's best to set the max recharge setting to below the current state of battery charge. The CX-70 PHEV also recuperates some energy back into the battery through regenerative braking. It has low and high regen braking modes. It's not a massive difference between the two, and regardless of which mode you choose, the physical brakes are still required to slow down the big SUV. Speaking of which, the physical brakes are strong and they provide a good pedal feel. As for fuel economy, surprise surprise, it's the same as the CX-90 PHEV. It is rated for 9.9 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Depending on how often you plug in the CX-70 and how long your commutes are, the real-world fuel economy can drastically differ. During my time with the car, I averaged 4.3 liters per 100 kilometers. While driving the CX-70 on the engine alone, I averaged around 9.3 liters per 100 kilometers during a couple of trips. This Mazda CX-70 as well as the CX-90 have a new philosophy in how future Mazda models drive. Both of these cars have a new chassis and they both have a rear drive biased all-wheel drive system in addition to that new inline-six engine as well as the 8-speed automatic transmission. Now we all know that Mazdas are a little bit more sporty to drive than some of their direct competitors, but with this CX-70 and also the CX-90, they both went a little bit more towards the luxury side. So neither car feels nimble to drive when you find yourself on more twisting and winding roads, but they do feel planted. And that's something that you always get from luxury cars. The steering in the CX-70 is heavier than in something like the Acura MDX or Lexus RX, but it's also not as quick as something like in the BMW X5. The suspension is also a little bit firmer than some of its direct competitors, so it resists body roll a little bit more. With this Mazda CX-70 and also the CX-90, you just get the impression that they feel more comfortable and more at home on highways and city streets rather than entertaining backcountry roads. Like many other Mazda models, the 2025 CX-70's ride is a tad on the stiff side when compared to some other brands, but it's by no means uncomfortable. Sharp city bumps or deep potholes can feel a bit jarry, but on the whole, the ride is no worse than most of its competitors. The ride of this SUV really shines when driving on highways. It is rock steady and at times feeling like a German SUV down the Autobahn. Just like the Mazda CX-90 PHEV, the one noise that I will not be able to get out of my head is that of the electric motor. It is incredibly loud inside the cabin, and it is the motor that you're hearing as it changes pitch whenever the transmission shifts from first to second. Thankfully, the noise does get drowned out by the tire noise at higher speeds, but when setting off from a stop or when the car is stopped on an incline, you will always hear the electric motor. It is not a great sound for something that is aiming to be a premium product. Otherwise, there is a little bit of road noise on highways, but it's not too bad, and also the four-cylinder engine makes some good sounds when revved really hard. The interior of this Mazda CX-70 is identical to that of the Mazda CX-90. Exact same infotainment system, exact same design, exact same controls. You're going to be hearing me say the same or exactly the same quite a lot in this review. Most of the materials in this top spec GT CX-70 are really nice to the touch, apart from the silver plastics that line the center of the console as well as the top portion of the door panels. But apart from that, the armrests are nice and soft, the upper portion of the dashboard is soft, and of course the seats are very comfortable and soft when you sit in them. Mazda has kept physical controls for the climate as well as the heated and ventilated seats if equipped, but my small inconvenience has to do with the temperature up and down buttons, or toggle switches I should say. Logic dictates that you see the blue arrow pointing down to lower the temperature, and you push down on the toggle switch and it works just fine. But to raise the temperature, you see that the arrow is pointing up, so you think, let's pull up on the toggle switch, but it doesn't work. You still have to push down on it. So it's a little bit counterintuitive. But again, minor inconvenience. I think that over time, you will build up muscle memory to get used to pushing down on both of these toggle switches. Now I know some people have complained about this shifter because in order to switch it from park to reverse to drive, you have to move it to the side and then down. But in all honesty, I haven't really had any issues with the shifter. I've had no problems in remembering that I need to switch it from the side and then down to get the car going. However, one small complaint that I have has to do with the infotainment system. So on the CX-70 PHEV, it's only a 10.25 inch screen. Now that's totally fine. I think it's a good size. However, it is not a touchscreen. So whenever you need to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you must control it with the rotary dial on the center console. If you go for the CX-70 with the inline-6 engine and the top spec signature trim, then it comes with a larger screen and it is a touchscreen, so you can properly use CarPlay and Android Auto. Speaking of which, CarPlay and Android Auto are wireless on this top spec GT trim of the plug-in hybrid, but on the GSL trim, they are both wired. I don't know why it's like that, but it just is. In terms of interior space in this Mazda CX-70, again, same as the CX-90, so plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. This seat is in its lowest position at the moment, but I still feel like as though I'm sitting really high up, so I have good visibility out the front, out the side, and even out the back. So with that, let's go check out the back seats now of the Mazda CX-70. Back here, the Mazda CX-70 is just as spacious as the Mazda CX-90. So behind my tall 6'4" driving position, it looks like as though I don't have that much leg space, but in reality I do. My knees are just barely brushing up against the back of the front seat, and thankfully it is made out of soft leather, not hard plastic. Headroom, equally pretty good as well. And Mazda has kept sliding and reclining second row seats for this CX-70. So you can recline and slide 60-40 to trade legroom back here for more cargo space. Back here you also do get a separate climate zone. The outermost seats are heated. There's 2 USB-C ports, sunshades, and of course the panoramic sunroof, which I left closed for some reason. But anyway, pretty spacious in these back seats. Now let's go check out the trunk space. It's in the trunk where the CX-70 and the CX-90 differ a little bit more. The CX-70 GT has 1,122 liters of cargo space, which is 11 liters less than the CX-90 GT. With the second row seats folded, cargo capacity increases to 2,132 liters, a 31-liter increase over the CX-90. Under the floor, there is a spare wheel. With one less row of seats, the 2025 Mazda CX-70 PHEV is less expensive than the CX-90 PHEV, but don't expect major savings. The CX-70 PHEV GSL starts at $58,750 Canadian, while this GT trim starts at $63,350 Canadian. Those prices are about $1,000 Canadian dollars less than the equivalent CX-90 PHEV. However, the CX-90 PHEV is available in one lower trim, which starts at $54,900 Canadian. In the United States, the CX-90 PHEV and the CX-70 PHEV have the same pricing. For the money, this GT trim has Nappa leather upholstery with heated seats in all 4 corners, ventilated front seats, which are a little bit weak to be honest, a heated steering wheel but only at the 9 and 3 positions as is the norm with all Mazda vehicles, a panoramic sunroof, a power liftgate, 3-zone automatic climate controls, surround view cameras, a 12.3-inch digital driver display, and a head-up display. The standard CX-70 comes equipped with the majority of safety and driver aids that are offered by Mazda. Moving up to this GT trim will add features such as safe exit warning, front cross-traffic alert, smart brake support rear, front and rear parking sensors, and the aforementioned surround view cameras. So in the end, the Mazda CX-70 is just a 2-row version of the CX-90, but with slightly different styling and a tweak to the pricing. I still think that Mazda has a little bit more refining to do with the CX-70 as well as the CX-90, but in comparing this car to the CX-90 PHEV that I drove last year, Mazda is on the right track. In the meantime, if you would like to know more about this 2025 Mazda CX-70 PHEV, I have a written review with a few more details about it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.